think that we get into this mindset of assuming that we will get closure, demanding closure, expecting closure, particularly in relationships, and not just romantic partnerships, but in relationships in general. But in most cases, a lot of times we won't have closure. It's just as simple as that. Especially if you are in a situation where the other person doesn't feel like they've done anything wrong, they don't feel like they owe you any closure, or genuinely you were the person that kind of mucked up the relationships in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And so while you're seeking closure, the other person has already moved on. Or while you think that you deserve closure, the other person might feel the opposite. Now, this is not always the case, but we cannot keep running around expecting closure. Okay, that's unhealthy. That is setting an expectation for another person, which we cannot do, not even to our children. And we have to start positioning ourselves for acceptance. We can't keep just putting out there and leaving this like field open to say, hey, I'm not accepting this because I expect for you to do this, and I expect for you to apologize, and I expect and all these expectations for other people. You can't have expectations for other people because they're their own person and they're going to do what they want to do regardless, as much as you want to control it. And setting an expectation to receive closure is a control mechanism. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to have control over the situation because a lot of times we have already been presented with the opportunity to have closure, but we didn't receive it well. We declined it. We denied it, and we want something else. We expect something different. We want a little more. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we have already had been presented with the opportunity, but we ourselves, we didn't accept it. You know, we aren't in acceptance of it. And that is a control mechanism, because not only did you control the fact that you expected to have the closure and now you were presented with it, but now you are controlling how the closure is supposed to come to you, and how, you know, this person is supposed to speak to you, and what they should know and what they should apologize for. But that's not how life works. You know what I'm saying? And you don't always get the answers that you want. You don't always get the answers that you deserve. Not from other people. You get what you deserve from yourself. You get what you want from yourself. But you don't always get that from other people. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times we don't. And we have to get into an acceptance of that. We have to remember that everybody is their own person. We are all in control of our own energy. And how we get into acceptance of that is embracing the facts of the situation for what it is. No matter if it's not pretty, you know, it might be a very dark, ugly situation, but we have to embrace the facts of the situation, because the facts are the facts are the facts. And sometimes it's hard to hear, and sometimes it's difficult to relive it. And so that is why you expect a certain level of emotionality from the parties involved. You know what I'm saying? But you have to get in a place where you're embracing the facts of the situation, because the truth is the truth, period. It doesn't matter how you actually feel about it. And a lot of times it's hard for everyone to see the truth of the matter of the situation. You know, everybody has their own perspective of what happened. And especially when you're in a place where you're like, no, I want and need closure, it's really hard to consider another person's perspective, because you want closure typically because you want to move on. A lot of people, and I hate to say this, but women in particular, we think we want closure, but we really want that emotionality to come from usually another person, a man, especially if you've been cheated on. You know, you want that emotionality of, you know, I apologize, or I know I was wrong, or I did this because of this. This is the reason why I did this. We want to hear it, but we want to experience the emotionality of it from that person. But that's not always the case. That's not always going to happen. In most cases, it never happens. But the thing is you can't really position yourself to heal. You can't really position yourself to move on, move forward from the issue if you're in a state of dwelling. And when you are constantly seeking closure in a situation, it's one thing to have had reached out to a person and say, I hope for us to have a conversation about this, maybe we can discuss it. But if you have tried it and it's always an argument, or if it's just like you've reached out and you've gotten nothing and it's been weeks or months or years even, you're dwelling on the idea of closure that you're most likely never going to get. And it's a fine line there. I don't want to necessarily say to completely, eliminate the idea of closure. However, you have to understand that at some point you must move on. You must take responsibility. And there are a lot of people who stay stuck in one place, in an unhealthy place, who harbor resentment, and essentially you're blocking your own blessings, all because you have not gotten the closure that you think you deserve, that you think you must have. When in reality, life happens, situations happen, and people come and people go. And once we really understand the concept of that in a gentle way, in a compassionate way, we then get into full alignment with understanding who this person is, what role they served in my life, what role I served in their life, how long we are supposed to converse or connect or be in union or community with one another. Then, we can fully understand that situation was supposed to happen the way it went down. That situation taught me this lesson. That situation was temporary. Once we start understanding and wrapping our mind around those truths, then we can move forward. Then we can be healthy. Then we can let it go. Then we can position ourselves to heal. Or sometimes just the understanding of that is the healing. Once you get that in your head, sometimes in certain situations, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm good.